Aloha all, this is Samana. This is podcast 48. I'm doing this on resentments and things that hold us back. How about that with that beautiful bird singing out for us, telling us how good it could be? Ooh, it's so lovely. I'm sitting in my backyard with my wind chimes and birds and dogs and squirrels and feeling like Snow White here. Feeling blessed. Okay, first I want to talk about the definition of resentment. So, resentment is a bitter indignation at having been treated unfairly. So, if you have things that you still hold resentment for, it's important to learn what is within your abilities and learn to express yourself. Express yourself on how it made you feel, on what you need to feel to be heard, and to stand up for yourself. You need to learn these tools in life at all times. And if you're with a person that you don't have the ability to do that with, then journal it. It's just as helpful to write it down. It's just about you learning to exercise that tool and that muscle of standing up for yourself. So now let's talk about this. So I'm bringing this up because it was a request. And lately I have found the theme in the last week or so in my counseling and my personal interactions have been basically looking at to see how can we create our ultimate life? How can we move forward is always what comes up in the sessions, right? We do counseling because we want to feel better and we want our life to be different and more of our choice. So the first step is to see what is consuming most of our internal resources. In order to start fresh or take a leap, we need to access a significant amount of energy to make this new life happen, right? So, for instance, if we want a better body, we have to let go of junk food or being lazy, and we have to be more active. If we want a better relationship, we have to let go of our ex, past relationships, past expectations in order to move forward. So, if mentally and emotionally we are spending so much time, and time equals energy, throughout the day thinking of someone or something that no longer is as we wished it to be, this is exhausting. So, yes, this is exhausting. So first, I want to make a statement here because this came up 3 times this week in different sessions. I was talking to clients and they have their specific challenge that they want to address in their weekly session, and every one of them made the comment about the pandemic, about this virus and the crisis and the times. And I said to them, and I believe this 100%, that we have to remove that, excuse me, as a factor, as an equation to our current issues. And that may sound strange, but I'm feeling this is an excuse. So it's almost, so this is the thing. It's going to take a while for us. First off, we're never going back to normal because it will never be, the world will never be as it was. And second off, we're talking a year and a half to 2 years from this point before we start to stabilize in whatever our new normal is. So if we're gonna put our life on hold for a year and a half to 2 years before we have the relationship we want, or the house we want, or the job we want, or the body we want, when the gym opens again, when this is over, I'll get rid of my ex, but for now we need each other. Like all those things, that's a trap. That's just a trap. It's another mind clutter to keep you from moving forward. So let's take that filter off, the pandemic, and notice within yourself if you're coming up with challenges and you're putting that as a factor of, okay, when this is over, I'll do this. No, figure out how to do it now under these circumstances, because now is all we have. Okay, so I've often used the example of being present, or what we believe to be present. And here we are, we're doing our job, our work throughout the day, or we're having a conversation with someone, and we believe we're fully there, we're fully present. Yet, imagine one of our hands are extended out and we're holding it up, and constantly it's being used to block or push away uncomfortable thoughts. Something that happened in our past that has hurt us, something that we resent or that we don't want to remember anymore. So this is part of what's draining you. It's draining your concentration, and you'll always only be able to be partially present, and your ability to take in what's new will be limited, so that lessens your joy. Regardless if you're conscious of this external hand holding those thoughts back, or partially conscious of it, like you notice, wait, I'm thinking about my ex, I'm thinking about this, why did this happen to me? And so sometimes we're aware of that, and sometimes it's unconscious, and we're still holding that hand up and expending that energy. So we have to let go of unresolved hurts from our past that limit our ability to move forward. So let's look at how we could clear away these blocks. So you can put your hand down and just breathe. Can you imagine that feeling, to just that cleansing breath, how free that is? So an exercise I did recently with a small group of friends. They came over for the new moon, and it was new moon in Cancer and sun in Cancer, and this was all about home and our community and our body and self-care and all these things, and I love all that. That's all right up my area. So the exercise initially was to write down our intentions of the seeds energetically we want to plant, of what we want to experience over the next 6 months to a year. Personally, be it with our body health, with our relationship cultivation, with our creative projects, etc. Or professionally, are we building or starting a business? And I want to add in there our global contribution. How do we want to show up in this political arena? And what's happening across the world with helping to strengthen equality for all, helping those less privileged to be heard, to be fed, to feel safe, to have health care, to be healthy? What part do you want to play to impact our future and our present? So these are all very good questions. So all this was my idea, is this ritual experience, and we had our journals to write, and then we would share. We'd go around after we did one of these little questions, and we'd choose to share with each other whatever we wanted to, or you could pass, you didn't have to share. And then at the end of all this, we would throw it in the fire pit. And this releases our hold on it. It's been expressed either through written or verbal, and then we give it to the universe, or we give it to the heavens, and our prayers are heard. How about that? So my brilliant friend, David Garrison, who is also a worthy life coach like myself, suggested, let's first write down all of our resentments and fears, things that we still hold on to. And this was right up my alley. I'm like, this is perfect. This is a perfect addition. Of course we should do that first before we write what we want to create, because we need to clear the past in order to be present. So here we are. So I want to say a little bit about our resentments. Tend to be hurts that we perceived from others or circumstances from others. So it's an external, this happened to me and it felt bad. And when we talk about regrets, regrets are owning our own past behaviors and actions. Like we exclusively did this and we're not proud of it. So by acknowledging our areas of our own shadows, we review them and accept them and learn from them. When we take the layer of pain and judgment off of the shoulds and the why nots, why didn't I, and peel that away, we can clearly look at the actions, the behavior, the essence of what actually took place. By using our witness state, so this is our state that's cultivated from regular meditation practices, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes a day, we want to cultivate our alpha state, our witness state. And this helps us to be curious, to see softly all of the subtle consequences of what occurred, so we get clarity on it. What would you prefer or choose differently if you find yourself in a similar circumstance in the future? How could you behave or respond differently to one of these things that you have a resentment for or a regret for? So one of my clients shared a long-time struggle in one of her relationships, acknowledging the parts of the interactions of the relationship that still meet her needs, and there's fun and there's all of these little things. And then she shared the part of the relationship that brings up all these emotional challenges. And it's hard, it's a challenging relationship. So regarding the aspects of the relationship that were against what she views as her values, this part she couldn't control. And the conflicts create a lot of stress in her life, and it wears her down. And I told her she has two choices. This is the little golden piece here. We always have to see what is within our power and our control. Or, rephrased, where is our point of choice? In order to be free, free to breathe, free to have more energy to utilize as we choose, free to be happy. Where is our point of choice? So, I told her the first option of choice is looking to see what feelings come up more. So this is where we're going to weigh this out, and we're going to logically, you could put this on a piece of paper of pros and cons. It takes all the sticky emotions out of it, and you write all the things that you benefit from having this person or this circumstance in your life, and all the happy things, and just feel free, just write that down until you can't think of any more. And then on the other side of that paper, I want you to write, what are the conflicts? What's the worry that comes up when you think about this person or this situation? What are the stressors in your relationship? And then I want you to honestly see throughout the day what you spend more time obsessing with or focusing on. Where does your energy go? Is it enhanced or benefited from the positive aspects of this relationship or the situation? Or are you constantly wondering, is this the right relationship? Am I getting my needs met? Are they going to turn into a Jekyll or Hyde? Is this going to be taken from me? Like such uncertainty. If you're stressing more than you are the benefit of the circumstance, then it might be time for you to find a way to walk away and leave that relationship. The other point is, if you don't want to end the relationship, we need to lessen our exposure to it, have agreements to either not discuss whatever the topics are that are stressful to you, or it may be the opposite. We need an agreement and a meeting time of when we're going to discuss deeper for more understanding so that both of us can see each other's views. I've said this before when I've been in challenges with someone and I feel that there's that like hard edge, and I know that that's my ego and my will and my attachment to wanting it to be a certain way, that when I meditate and get to a point of spaciousness and that witness state, I actually ask Spirit or God or Jesus or however you're talking to, your higher self, show me their view. And when I say that, I'm sincere. I actually want to see what is my opponent in that moment. They're the opposite. They're the one we're fighting. What is my opponent's view? And then when I can actually see their view, then I have an understanding. I still may not accept it. It still may not work with me, but there's a softening and an acceptance that maybe we can all exist with our ways. And this is what we're trying to do as human beings, is to have allowance for everybody's needs, everybody's ways. Isn't that the ultimate? Okay, so let's look at this. I'm kind of going off script. I write my notes and then I go on to my other thing. Okay, so if we're seeing that we need less exposure while we're getting strong for this, then be kind to yourself and know that we either have the agreement that we're not going to discuss whatever topic, or we'll discuss it further until we have an understanding of our views. And ultimately, we must change our relationship to the relationship. Let me repeat that. This is golden. Again, we must change our relationship to the relationship. It means externally, the circumstances don't change. Their behavior doesn't change. This is a fact. We accept that. But our relationship to either understanding why they feel that way or why it is this way. And if we could get to that point, our view of it, so if we're needing it to be a certain way or wanting to control it, being attached to that being that certain way, it's not going to help us. If we can accept it as it is, our relationship to it changes in a way of gentleness, of curiosity, and acceptance. There was a time when I owned my business, Spa Luna, and towards the last 5 years of it, I'd be so worn out by the end of the year. And I'm like, I'm going to take off like to Thailand or somewhere for a month and just like get treatments and massages and meditate and do yoga and just be by myself because I was just so exhausted. And I saw that this was the same circumstances in business that I loved for 15, 18 years before. So what changed? And what I saw was my relationship to it was changing. So it was still the same stressors, still the same responsibilities, still the same purpose and joys and everything I loved. Yet my relationship was changing to it. And I had to accept that perhaps I was changing. Perhaps it wasn't serving me as it had all those years. Maybe my purpose was changing. Maybe my needs were changing. And again, sometimes we change our relationship to it, to acceptance of it, and we can lean into it easier and find a nice meeting, an equal meeting that feels good to all sides. Or we have to acknowledge we've changed, like our needs have changed. This isn't serving us. So, by being kind to yourself, know that it is too charged of a circumstance that you can't handle it as it is. Or acknowledge that you don't have the tools to currently handle or find that sweet spot that, okay, I'm comfortable here. We could still relate, I'm comfortable, but these are the circumstances I need to be comfortable. If you need to find more tools in order to get to that place, then I highly recommend. Maybe it's time for some counseling. And this isn't just a pitch for me, although it's what I do for a living. It's one of my motivations to do my podcast is to help ease people's suffering, give them clarity and insights, and then also I'm getting a lot of clients through this because they hear how I speak and it speaks to them. So, I recommend when you begin counseling that you do it once a week for a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. And that is a minimum, and it's not a financial thing. You need to know that that's the systems of the body. If you're focusing on one particular thing, one particular issue that's challenging, that you're unconscious to, that creates a lot of suffering and challenges, then it's 4 to 6 weeks. If there are several things, like I'm going into my childhood wounds, I'm going into repetitive patterns that keep coming up through different circumstances and relationships, this could be 6 months to a year of a weekly check-in, because you're going to go from one topic when that's served and clear, then you move on to another one. I mean, I personally have found that when I am having these systemic ingrained beliefs or emotions that are like beyond my control, and they're stealing so many moments of joy, I have gone into therapy throughout my life because I call those my blind spots. And there's nothing wrong with us. All humans have blind spots, and we need to know when we trust someone that can help us understand when we get triggered and know that, wait a minute, I didn't like the way that felt. I wasn't proud of my behavior. We all have healing to do, and we do see progress when we have support. So when we can clearly see what is under that extended hand that's been held up for years and holding back those thoughts, those pains, those resentments, and we find tools that will help us with deeper understanding to digest the lessons, the teachings that are being offered to us, this is where we gain new wisdom, we gain new skills, and best of all, we finally get to let our hand down. We get to relax. We get to breathe easy, and experience life as it is without all of its stickiness. We want that freedom of breath. When we acknowledge and embrace our resentments and our regrets and past beliefs that have held us back, perhaps it's the people and circumstances that no longer serve us and meet our needs, as I said before. Have we changed? And we just haven't checked in recently to know that we've changed. It's important to do that personal check-in, to have that counselor or that clear friend that does that feedback and can help you express what's going on inside. So you see, wait a minute, wow, when did I change? When did my needs change? When did this evolve? Like, we continue, hopefully, to keep changing and evolving. We don't want to be stagnant in the same town with the same friends, the same job, the same everything, the same habits. We want to constantly challenge ourselves and keep those neurons coming and keep those adventures and experiences and committing to our relationships in a new way, in a fresh way, bringing the best of ourselves to it. So, the last part of the exercise I did with my group of friends, and I recommend for you to try this, is that write down what you want to create or the intentions of your goals and your aspirations that you want to move forward with. So now that we've looked at what we need to clear, yes, I acknowledge, wow, I didn't know I still had that regret. I didn't know I was still punishing myself for that behavior 20 years ago. Like, we have to come to terms with it. We have to once and for all, stop the battle and just say, okay, that relationship's over. I bless my ex, and I've learned what I've learned. Write down what you've learned, and I really want a new relationship. And this is what I have to offer in that relationship. This is how I'm going to show up. So, when we know our goals and our aspirations and what we want and how to move forward, when we have this abundance of renewed energy and these new resources, because we've done our work, we have a greater possibility and probability of success, of it actually is going to it is going to happen, and we're going to put a time frame on there so that we hold ourselves accountable. So I am going to emphasize the counseling part. If you're finding specific challenges in your life that you need a new perspective, fresh eyes. I had someone very close to me recently that was going through challenges in a personal, intimate relationship that's been happening for a couple of years. And I said, I'm not the person to do counseling with because we're too close, but I recommend to do counseling once a week for a while. And I say, because one of two things are going to happen with counseling. When you find a good counselor that you resonate with, that you feel heard, this is what you want from that counselor. You don't want them to solve your problems. The first option is from a good counselor, you're going to feel heard and validated. And you're going to have the support and courage you need to walk away from relationships and circumstances that no longer serve you without being devastated. You'll feel strong enough to do it. Or the second option from a good counseling series of sessions is that you feel heard and seen and supported, and your behavior begins changing because of the support of this new person that's emerging, and you'll find that your partner and your co-workers and your roommates and your family members and whoever you've had these challenges with before see this difference in your behavior and the way you respond, and they get curious and either want to do counseling also, or they will respond differently to you because it's a different dynamic. So you are only in charge of yourself. You need to be the force that shows up differently and authentically. And when there is someone that you feel is violating or hurting you, that you have resentments, that it's a behavior that's not appropriate, that they constantly hurt your feelings, or you feel invisible to or unworthy to, then it's for you to find a way to have that voice, to strengthen that voice, to say, this is how I feel when you say that or do that. This is what I need from you. And to feel heard, to feel seen, or how to forgive them. You need to know how you can forgive them or what they can do if they're asking to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That was unconscious. The way I said that I didn't mean to hurt you. I was speaking from myself. I did this the other day with a friend of mine. I said something, and I said it because it's how I felt. And then I saw in that moment, wait a minute, well, how kind does that sound to him? And then I started to see, wow, that's such a subtle view. Like here, sometimes we're speaking our truth, but it's not just about us speaking our truth. We also have to see, how will this land to others around us that may not feel so secure in our relationship with them? And then I would need to qualify, this is what I meant, and this has nothing to do with us. I'm not saying I'm leaving. I'm not saying that this is over. I'm not saying you're not enough. This is just how I'm feeling. And then to learn to qualify that. So, regardless if we're needing to heal some past childhood wounds or become aware of deeper vulnerabilities or new needs that are arising or needs that have not been acknowledged. I'm available for counseling sessions. I'm here to witness and help support your growth and your greater insights and your tremendous capacities for joy and relationship and acceptance and what lights up your heart. We do Zoom calls. They're 1 hour. I charge $75. And my number is 808-283-7587. I am Central Standard Time, Texas time. So wherever you are in the world, I know I have my European followers. I know I have Australian followers. I know I have followers in Japan and all over. And I'm so excited. And please always give me feedback or comments. And you can email me, samana at spaluna, spaluna.com, and give me ideas for podcasts that may help support you in all of this, or questions you have about your counseling. I have a lot of people through Facebook that message me and then ask, could I help them with this particular issue? And then we set up a counseling time, and it's perfect. So, in the meantime, people, aloha. Stay safe, stay wise, stay considerate of others, wear your masks in public indoor places, and keep your distancing. And blessings to all. Aloha. I will look forward to our next podcast.